Hey guys, Capt here, preacher at large, teaching the word 5 minutes at a time. Hey, I've heard a lot of people talk about why do we even need the Old Testament? Isn't it the Old Testament? Don't I just need the New Testament? A lot of new Christians don't understand the Old Testament. Of course, it's hard to understand sometimes. But we have to understand that the Old Testament, aka the Hebrew Scriptures, everything in them points to Jesus. Okay, they call it the Messiah in the Old Testament, but it all points to Jesus. And if we don't have that, there's a lot of context we miss in the New Testament that's in the Old Testament. Let me show you some stuff that, as I was studying this morning, look at Luke 24 and 27. Here's Jesus after the resurrection. There's two disciples walking down the road. They're all bummed because Jesus was crucified. They don't understand what's going on. Jesus appears to them. He's blocking who he is so they can't see him. And he asks him a question. Hey, what's going on, guys? What are you talking about? They're like, dude, are you the only person in this town that doesn't know what just happened with the crucifixion of Jesus? And then he looks at them and says, now they still don't know who this is. You fools, you idiots. Doesn't the scriptures say that the Messiah must die and be raised again on the third day? And then it says that Jesus started in the book of Moses, probably meaning the 5 books of Moses, the Torah, and then the prophets, and then scripture to explain everything about himself. You need to realize, Jesus was not using the New Testament. It hasn't been written yet. He's using the Old Testament to tell these disciples and teach them everything the Old Testament says about him, Jesus. Now, here's another weird thing. Remember the Magi? Jesus is born at his birth, and the Magi come from the east, and they go to King Herod. And King Herod goes, what do you mean a king? And so King Herod gets all the scribes and Pharisees, calls them all together. That happens in Matthew 2. And they say, oh, the Messiah says he'll be born in Bethlehem. And then what does Herod do? Herod kills everyone 2 years and younger. Herod believed the Old Testament. But yet the scribes and the Pharisees, who are God's people, didn't believe. And so we have to realize that all of this stuff, man, the whole Old Testament is about Jesus. Get your face in the Old Testament too, along with the New Testament. And so, because everything that Jesus did is clearly outlined in the Old Testament. And if you would like, you can private message me and I'll send you a chart because of course I had to go dig it all out, and I got all the verses in the New Testament that referred to the Old Testament talking about the Messiah, and then I went to the Old Testament and got all the verses in the whole Old Testament that pertains to the Messiah. It's about 10 pages, and so you can start studying and getting your face in the Old Testament. Now, don't be like the religious leaders. Believe Jesus and get your face in the Bible.